Hi guys, and welcome back to a new video. First of all, what do we think of like the new setup? Like, it's not really like a new setup, it's just me who decided to film at a different part in my room. I'm actually currently sitting on my bed, and it's like, I think if you watch my vlogs you definitely like recognize the background. So I know it's not like the best setup, but I wanted to switch it up by just filming on a different setting instead of sitting at my desk all the time. And I also really feel like I haven't done like a talk through video in ages, where I just like either answer some questions or just like talk to you guys about anything really. So yeah, in this video I'm actually going to be talking about all about my life as a university student. I did make like a similar video like this earlier back in November when I answered a bunch of questions about my bachelor's, which is Korea studies. I also asked you guys on my Instagram to send him some questions, and I did get some questions here and there, but like not enough to make like a full video. So I also decided to add some questions that I mostly get about my university life, and also just things like my friends and my family ask me, like, or also just some general questions. Like, for example, if you're like in high school and you want to know what my life as a university student is like, then I think it will be great. Like, all the questions I'm gonna answer, they are not really specific about Korea studies. Like, it's just mainly about my life as a university student in general, but there are some questions here and there which are like related to what I study. So I have 28 questions to go through, which is quite a lot, but we can do this. So yeah, enough rambling, let's get on with the video. So the first question was actually in Dutch, so I'm gonna translate it to English, and that is, do you need certain grades to get to university? I think since the question is in Dutch, I think they mainly meant like universities within the Netherlands. I cannot speak for other countries, but for me, like, I'm just basically going to answer it from my perspective of being a Korea study student. Like I don't know how it is in other countries, but what from I know, like in the Netherlands, it really depends like per university and like per like course, like per bachelor's, what you want to do. Like, I know like with Korea studies they didn't look at like my high school grades, but I know there are like some universities or like some bachelors who do have like certain requirements, like that you have to have an average of like 70% or something like that with your high school grades. And I think there are also like some bachelors who do want to see like your high school grade. So I would say it really depends. With my with Leiden University and the bachelors I'm doing, they didn't look at like my grades. Also the same with like my previous college, like they also didn't look at my grades. I think you have to do like research on that, as it really depends per bachelor's. When did you decide to go to university, and what was the transition like to go from work to uni? So just a little background story for anyone who doesn't know. Like, it's been almost 4 years ago since I graduated college. I got my bachelor's of social work. I was almost 22 at the time when I graduated, and back then I really said to myself, like, I'm not going to university, because it may sound weird, but like, it's just the Netherlands. We have a very, like, I would say complicated school system compared to like the rest of the world. Like, people who are from the Netherlands and who are watching this, you guys know what I mean, because obviously I went to college, but then university is like the higher level, if that makes sense. Like, also lots of people from my college, they all like decided to go to uni to do like either a master's there or like a pre-master's, or just like do something else at the university. Back then I was like, no, I'm gonna go work, I'm so over school. Like, that's literally what I thought. But then right after when I graduated, I went to South Korea with my sister for like 2 weeks, just off for holiday, and I really enjoyed it. But then I had this like second thought of like, and around that time, and even long before that, I actually knew that Korea studies was a thing at Leiden University. I knew it existed, but like before I graduated college, I really didn't have any interest in that. Like, I was like, oh, Korea studies, it sounds fun, but like I don't think I want to do that. So, but then when I came back from South Korea, like, I really felt like, I don't know, something inside me was like, maybe I do want to go do it, because it really sounds interesting. And I also knew someone else who was actually starting with Korea studies that year. I don't know, it did spark like an interest in me, if that makes sense. Back then, like, I just graduated, I was still working at the drugstore that I'm currently working now again as a part-time job, which I'll get to later. But I was still working at the drugstore, my part-time job. I was struggling to find a job as a social worker, because obviously I got my bachelor's degree in social work, so I wanted to become a social worker. So, and then like COVID came. That's the time when like the lockdown came and stuff, so I just kept working, and then I got my job as a social worker. Back then, like, I think I wasn't I was still thinking about Korea studies, but the thought of like, oh, I actually do want to go and actually do it, that didn't occur yet until last year. Last year when I was like still 24, I was literally there like, okay, but I am getting older and I'm like still young, and like it's just the fact that I want to do Korea studies, it's just like, I don't know, it really grew inside of me that I actually really want to go and do it. And the timing actually worked out perfectly, because then not too long later I learned that the project that I was working for as a social worker was actually coming to an end. For those who don't know, I was working at a school and I was like tied to this project that we were doing there at the school, but that unfortunately came to an end after like 11 years. So I actually thought, okay, well, this is actually like the perfect timing to go to university. I could have looked like for another job, but I was literally like, okay, maybe this is now like the time to go to university. Like, I actually already was determined to go, but like just the fact that the project was coming to an end was like an extra confirmation that I should do it. So I did that. So I sort of low-key quit my job slash lost my job. So like the project was coming to an end anyway, but I also like quit on my own, if that makes sense. And the question like, how was the transition to go from work to school? To be honest, it was a little bit crazy, because I just came from like the adult world, and me who used to work like sort of almost full-time is now actually going to university again full-time. It was a little bit crazy. Like I was very used to like working 4 days a week, having a nice salary on my bank account every month, and then suddenly I was just in like the lecture halls again. So it was crazy, but also the transition went totally fine. Like I quit right at the time the summer break was going to start, and like I mentioned, like the transition was fine. Like I didn't have to quit myself and then that they had to find someone else to take over the spot, because like I said, the project was already coming to an end. So basically so that also went smooth, or else I will be worried about that too. So then the summer break came. I really enjoyed my summer break, and then I just enrolled in at university as a university student. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, but I really like how it all went so smooth. So yeah, that was basically the answer to your question. How do you keep yourself motivated? I have to be honest with you, like the cons of going to university, and like in this case, like again, is like obviously the workload is pretty big, and yeah, there's sometimes there are just those days where you really just don't feel motivated at all. One of the main things I do to keep myself motivated is actually remembering why I decided to do this. Because for example, you probably have set certain goals you want to achieve at university, like maybe just your biggest goals, probably obviously graduating, and smaller goals like for example getting good grades and passing the first year, and etc, etc. If you have certain goals like this, always make sure to remember them and use those as a motivation to keep going. Like think about your goals and why you decided to do the bachelor's or studies you're currently doing. So that's how actually I keep myself motivated. And also like my planning is like my best friend. So I really love planning. I also made a video about it recently about how I plan my whole life. Yeah, but that's basically how I keep myself motivated. This was a nice question, which I actually thought it was very funny. Do you prefer college or uni? Like, I would say I actually do prefer my time at university a lot more than my college time. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not that I hated my college life. Like, I actually also enjoyed my college life, but I really feel like just at university I just feel a lot more happier compared to college, because the time when I went to college was also a time that I was like, where my mental health was like quite at its lowest. I was really like depressed back then, and like it was a very horrible time for me. So that's why I'm also not traumatized by my college life. And don't get me wrong, it's not college that like made me depressed, it's just a lot of things that happened at my time when I was at college. That's basically why it sort of gave like a bad aftertaste, if that makes sense. And currently I don't experience that at all at uni. I'm just feeling so much better mentally. Like, okay, not gonna lie, I have some days even at uni as well where my mental health is quite low, or when I'm just at my lowest. But like, it's just, I prefer my time at uni a lot more. It's a combination of lots of things. I think it also has to do because of the fact that I'm doing Korea studies. I'm doing something I really enjoy and where my passion is in. Like, I've always been like interested in Korea and the culture and everything, like ever since I was 16. So I think the fact that I am doing a bachelor's in something I really love is also the reason why I enjoy my time at uni more compared to at college. Like, don't get me wrong, I love doing social work at college and I don't regret it at all, and also really enjoyed my social work as well, and also the school there, the friends I made there, like my classmates, everything was nice there. It's just I just didn't have a good time at college compared to uni. So the next question was also in Dutch, but I hope I can like answer it in a way that like my international viewers also would like understand, because the question is, can I go to university without a VWO diploma? Will definitely sound weird to my international viewers, but the question is basically like I mentioned earlier, like our Dutch school system is so complicated, and what the VWO diploma in this case means is like we have like 3 levels of high school here in the Netherlands. Hi guys, so I'm currently editing this video, and when I was talking I tried to explain the Dutch school system as much as possible, but I feel like I did such a terrible job. So I actually went to this site, imani.kadieva, and this section actually perfectly describes like how secondary school in the Netherlands works. So the VWO diploma I mentioned is this one, which is the University Preparatory Education. The VWO is a 6-year education stream with a focus on theoretical knowledge that prepares students to follow a bachelor's degree, WO, at a research university. So Leiden University is actually a research university. In my video, when I was filming, I explained it as like an academic thing, but like you can sort of, yeah, I think research university would describe it better. So students study the VWO at schools known as Atheneum and Gymnasium, that like I'm just saying it in Dutch, and complete the stream around the age of 18. So yeah, the VWO is a 6-year education, but what I did was the HAVO, the Senior General Secondary Education, and the HAVO is a 5-year middle stream that prepares students to study higher professional education at University of Applied Sciences, which we call in Dutch hogescholen. So when I mentioned college during this video, I actually meant Universities of Applied Sciences. But the thing is, like in the Netherlands, we are not allowed to call those hogescholen universities because they are not research universities. However, internationally, the hogescholen are like credited as universities of applied sciences. So and it says where they can follow a bachelor's degree in applied sciences, and so that's actually what I did. So this whole thing and this is basically describes how my life went. So yeah, that was like sort of the explanation. There's also this very great video which can, I think, probably explain it perfectly, while I did a terrible job explaining it while filming. So yeah, let's go back to the video. To answer this person's question, like VWO is not the only diploma you have to go to university. Like obviously a VWO diploma definitely guarantees you to go to uni, but if you want to go to university but you don't have a VWO diploma, there are other options as well. For example, if you went to college, like for Dutch, like HBO, like if you pass your first year and get like your propedeutics phase, like is that the English name for like, it's like a certificate you get for passing your first year. If you obtain that at like HBO/college, if you obtain that, then you can actually go to university here as well. Or for example, in my case, I got a whole bachelor's degree already at college. So that bachelor's degree from college also like gave me access to go to uni. So that's how I actually got into uni. Or else you also have the option, but that's only if you're over 21, that you can like do a certain like exam or something like that will like determine whether you can go to university or not. It's called like the 21 plus exam or something like that. But that's for people who don't have like any like high school diploma or any diploma at all, but they want to go to university. But like I mentioned, you have to be 21 or over to do that. So to answer your question, like if you don't have a VWO diploma, then there are also other ways you can go to university. How does your week look like? Do you have a lot of classes? I actually do go to uni every day, so 5 days a week. I don't have like a lot of classes. Like I think the maximum classes I have is like 2, but I know like there are some people who have 3, so it really depends just on your schedule. But it's not like your schedule is packed with like classes from 9 to 5, not at all. Like some days I only have 1 class and some days I have like 2 or 3. I do have class from Monday to Friday, but it's just not as much as if we would compare to like high school or something. How was your first week? Were you nervous? Yes, I absolutely was. People who know me know that I'm quite a social person, but when I arrived there, like on my very first day, like when it was like my introduction day, I was so nervous because I didn't know anyone, first of all, and I also sort of felt like everyone already like knew each other for some reason. Like I already saw how groups were like formed and stuff like that, and I was just like standing there just by myself, like not like didn't want to go up to anyone and like make a conversation because I was so anxious to do that. Like I am quite a social person, but I do have quite like a social anxiety. Well, that was basically when I got social anxiety. But don't get me wrong, I wasn't like the only one. There were lots of people who were in the same position as me, like not knowing anyone and just like scared to like approach them. So yeah, and I was also very nervous in the sense like obviously I was going to university, like it was just I was going to school again for the first time in 3 years. So I was also like, oh, like how am I going to experience it, like, you know? And also since the university is like on a bit higher level compared to college, that's why I was also a bit nervous. Like yeah, I think everyone has that, like when it's their first day at a new job or first day at your new school, like it's sort of like that. Like obviously everyone gets nervous, so it was sort of like that. But yeah, I was quite nervous. How did you make friends? Well, if I'm totally honest with you, I actually did not expect to make friends at the university at all, but for some reason I just happened to make friends and I'm very grateful for them. If my friends from uni are watching, I love you. Yeah, I didn't expect it at all, like, but even when I went to uni and when I started like Korea studies, I didn't like have this mindset, oh like, oh, I want to make a lot of friends there. Like I actually thought I was going to be like those loner people. Like I don't want to make it like a negative thing, but like I thought I was going to be like one of those people, yeah, like who, yes, like gets along with her classmates, but like doesn't necessarily like becomes friends with them, or you know, that I just go to uni, follow my lectures, my classes, and I just go straight home. I actually thought I was going to be like that kind of person, like that I wasn't tied with like anyone, but for some reason it just happened. But the people at uni who I'm actually currently friends with now, like we actually became friends by, and it sounds pretty silly, but like we actually became friends by walking to the train station every day after class. Like that's how we sort of became friends. Like obviously you see each other every day, and then once class is over you all walk towards the same direction, because it's like a 10 to 15 minute walk from the train station to uni and vice versa. So obviously we sort of like started talking, getting to know each other, and yeah, so we sort of became like a set group who always walks to the train station. And yeah, that's actually how those people became my friends. And yeah, I'm getting along very well with all my other classmates as well. So yeah, it's just I really did not expect it. So when did you realize you made the right choice to do the bachelor you chose? Like I think lots of people who go to college or uni go through this. Like sometimes there are people who drop out because they regret bachelors they chose or anything like that. So the time I felt I made the right choice was when I felt like I was actually enjoying it. Like I was actually enjoying going to uni, enjoying doing like the homework. Obviously you don't have to enjoy it all the time, but like it's just, I think you just feel it when you're like, oh, I really like this, I'm actually quite interested in this. Because why would you do a bachelor's with like in a direction or like field you're not interested in at all? If you feel like you don't like doing your studies for like any reason, maybe it's just not you're just not interested in the subjects, or it just wasn't what you expected, like then I would say you probably did not make the right choice. But yeah, if everything just feels right, like everything, then that's when I felt like I made the right choice. Sorry if the angle has changed, my battery actually died, so that's why I just reset it again. Also my phone is in the charger, so I'll just now continue with the questions. How did you find your study routine? It was actually definitely a trial and error, because like I mentioned earlier, I haven't been to school in 3 years, so I really had to like establish a study routine again, because I barely remembered how I used to study back in college. It sounds crazy, but like 3 years is quite a long time. So, and since uni is like quite different from college anyway, so yeah, like I mentioned earlier, planning is key. So I basically just look at what I have to do that week and then just plan it on certain days. Like for example, if I know I have like a vocabulary test for Korean on Tuesday, I'll start studying for that in the weekend, or on like on Monday, like so like the day before. And if I have some certain readings to do, I also check like how much is it that I have to read, and then I'll just like put it in my planning as well, that I at least read some chapters. Like, not gonna lie, there are some days that like my planning doesn't work out, like because obviously anything in life can like happen, or sometimes I'm just too tired to do anything. So consistently planning is like literally key for having a good study routine. Yeah, just also planning when you're going to study is also important. So yeah, and it's like I mentioned, it's very trial and error, so things that work for me probably won't work for you. If you guys do want to see a video all about my study routine, then I would love to make it, but in the meantime I would also like recommend to check some videos on YouTube as well from people who do like have a nice study routine. Were there moments you regretted quitting your job to pursue university? It's like, if I'm totally honest with you, it's like a yes and no. Like, yes, in a sense like that I sort of, it was not really regretting, but more like missing the time when I used to work, and like especially on the financial part, that's where I actually did miss like my working life. So, and sometimes when I really did have like financial like worries, there were like moments like, oh, was this like even a good idea? And other times I started to regret it. Those were actually times I like doubted myself and just wasn't feeling well mentally. But like, for example, if things were just getting too much, then I also had this moment like, oh, I regret going to university. But like, it's not an overall thought that I regret it. So at the same time, no, I definitely do not regret it at all. Like, I'm actually very happy I made this choice, and I really feel like I would have regretted it a lot more if I did not go to university. Like, if I decided to just not do Korean studies at all, that I think I definitely would have regretted that a lot more. So to answer this question, like, I don't, but sometimes, like, even when I'm feeling low, I have some moments I regret it, but mainly no, I don't regret it at all. How big is the workload at your university? To be honest, it is actually quite a lot. It is actually, it's not that I underestimated the workload, but I did like feel like, oh damn, this is like a lot more than I sort of expected. Like obviously I've been to college before this, so like I sort of knew what I was actually going to expect when it comes to workload, because my workload at college, I mean, was also like big, if I would word it correctly. But yeah, the workload in general, like, it is doable, but I do have to admit it's sometimes like a lot, because like, if I can speak for Korean studies, we have class like every single day. We have Korean class every single day, so we also have to make homework for that. We have vocabulary tests every week. Sometimes there are also pre-unit tests we have to do in between to like prepare for the new grammar and stuff. And then also you have other lectures like history and stuff like that, where you have to do readings for. We also write papers for it sometimes, and also other subjects. So yeah, it can definitely be quite a lot. So that's why, once again, I'm mentioning it, like, planning is so important. But yeah, I do have to be honest, like, the workload at university, it is pretty big, so I definitely would not underestimate that. Did you notice a big difference between college and university? Like, yes, I certainly did. Like, I really felt like university was definitely next level compared to college or HBO, what I just mentioned. Like, if I was gonna say in Dutch what I did, it was definitely, university is definitely next level. And university is really like a lot more academic, and you also have to do lots of things yourself. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like that we don't get any like how would you say that in English? Like, it's not that we don't get any help from our professors or something like that, but it's just, obviously we can ask them questions if we want to know things, but in the end it's basically you have to do it all by yourself. That's basically university. Like the teachers can guide you in the right directions where they can, but like at the end it's all on you. And with college it was also sort of like that, but at the same time I did feel like in college that we did have like a lot more, that we did get a lot more help from the teachers. Also, I really felt like college was a lot more practical. So like, yes, we did get like theory and stuff and like subjects, but it was also practical in the sense that we had to do like internships and stuff like that. So like with university is definitely not practical at all. Well, it depends on what university study you do. Like, for example, if you want to study like to become a doctor or work in a lab, then I would imagine it would be a bit more practical. But like the field that I am in, like humanities, that's definitely not practical. So it's a lot more academic, theory and stuff like that. So yeah, I've definitely noticed a big difference. And also, like I mentioned earlier with my previous question, the workload in university was a lot more bigger. So yeah. Do you live at home or in a dormitory? No, like I live with my parents, and I'm totally content. Yes, people can like get a dorm, like move out of their parents' house and live somewhere close to campus. That's possible, like normal houses, I think, which is just shared by students, if that makes sense. I found this question also very, very interesting, and it was also in Dutch, so I'm gonna translate it. How old are most of the people at your studies? I'm 23 and insecure about being in a class with people who just graduated high school. I thought that was a very nice question to add in here. That's something I also struggled with, because obviously I am 25, so I am definitely older than almost all of my classmates. Obviously at university there are people there who just got out of high school, so they're like 18 or 19 years old most of the time. The person who asked this question, I would definitely say don't worry about it, because about the age, because yeah, for example, I'm 25 and there are also other people in their first year who are like 23, 24 or like 21. Like there are definitely people above their 20s there. I genuinely thought that people would have a problem with my age, but it turns out they don't at all, which I'm actually very happy about. So I would say don't worry about it. Are you planning to pursue an academic career related to Korea, and what are your future plans? I think I did answer this in my previous video where I did like a Q&A about Korea studies. Like I mentioned earlier, I did social work, and I used to have a career as a social worker, which only lasted for 2 years, but still, like, but even when I did social work, I knew I wasn't gonna do that for the rest of my life. I always find questions like this so hard to answer, because I don't even know what I want to do tomorrow, let alone like in the future. So future related questions always sort of give me a little anxiety, because you never know what the future brings, if that makes sense. So but if I want to pursue an academic career related to Korea, I am actually not pretty sure about that, if I'm totally honest with you. Like I definitely want to do something related to Korea and make it my career, but if it's like actually like academic, I'm not pretty sure about that. How do you prepare for finals? Once again, planning and making sure that I keep up with like when do I have what exam, when is the best time to start studying with that, and also just like in combination with like other things like deadlines and papers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all about having a consistent planning and stuff like that. So like I obviously do start like on time. Like it is very important to start on time. It can sometimes be hard because your finals can be like right after a week that you had classes, so sometimes it's quite hard to start early then, because you also have to do homework for the classes in between in that week before. But yeah, like I try to start as early as possible, like 2 to 3 weeks before. So yeah. My battery died again, my apologies. I should have like charged my battery before I started filming this video, so I'm so sorry. How do you keep being consistent with making YouTube videos despite a hectic life at university? So once again, I think I could answer almost all of my questions like this with planning, because like I really love creating YouTube videos, and I don't think a lot of you guys know this, but I've been doing YouTube like ever since I was like 12 really. So I really love doing YouTube like always, and even when I was in college I used to make YouTube videos, which I've all privated now, so you cannot see any of them right now. But I used to make videos like that back then as well, but I was just so very inconsistent, because it's just whenever like my life just got so busy, I just like really put YouTube on the side. But back then YouTube was also really like something I did occasionally, and just at some moment I also really lost the motivation for it as well. But since last year I really want to be very, very consistent with YouTube, and I also really felt like I can like make it work even though I'm doing uni on the side. I don't want to fall back into the moment where I'm being inconsistent again and not uploading anything for weeks. I sort of feel like I finally found like the content I would love to create, because I also back then at college I wasn't really sure like what kind of content I wanted to create, and that's why I put all my interests in one channel right now, because I really like it. But to answer the question, yeah, I just really make a very good planning, and I'm currently trying to upload 3 videos a week. Sometimes it can be 2 or just 1. Like I know there was also a time like not too long ago where I was only posting like 1 video a week, but I really want to like get back into 3, because last year I was doing very well even though I was working almost full-time on the side. So yeah. Did you ever consider dropping out? Yes, I have. Like if I'm going to be honest with you, yes, I did actually. There were moments, like even pretty recently, if I'm totally honest with you, where I was actually considering to drop out. And it has its many reasons, because first of all, I already have like a bachelor's, so if I would quit this one, then it wouldn't be that much of a big deal, because I already have a bachelor's degree. And if we go back to one of the questions I answered in the beginning of this video, like how do I keep myself motivated, is the reason why I haven't dropped out yet is because I really like thought about why am I doing this, why did I started doing this. As of now, I don't at this moment. I'm very determined to finish this at least finish this first year. I have this question like how do you stay organized, but I'm actually going to skip that one because I think I've like already sort of answered it in this video. Did you join a sorority? No, I did not, and also not in college either. But basically everyone at Korea Studies is part of the student association from Korea Studies. It's called svk.kb. So basically anyone who is at Korea Studies is actually part of that student association, if that makes sense. So anyone can join like their activities, parties, anything. They can basically join anything the student association organizes. A student association is like different compared to like a sorority, but no, I'm not tied to a sorority at this moment. Do you get support from your family? Yes, absolutely. My parents and everyone in my family are 100% supportive of me going to university. I don't know if they meant like financial support with this question, but I think if we can talk about support, like if my family is like supportive of me going to university, like yes, they absolutely are. They were so like glad when I told them I want to go to university, because like education and stuff is like something of very high value in my family. So yeah, they 100% support it. What is your favorite course? Like I honestly have to say Korean, because I like learning Korean. Like I do have to be honest, it is getting a little bit difficult now. And what I mentioned earlier about the workload, I do have to say Korean is very fast paced. Like we learn like basically new grammar every single week, so it can be overwhelming sometimes. And because of the fact that it's overwhelming, it can also be a bit hard sometimes, but nevertheless I really enjoy Korean. And yeah, I think my favorite course is Korean. Next question is also in Dutch, but in English it's like, did you do any research on your bachelor beforehand? Yes, I did. Like, it's not that I just signed up for Korea Studies without like looking at the background or anything other like that. Or I think it's with any bachelor, like you always have to like look exactly like what exactly are you gonna learn there, how does the bachelor like look like, what are the classes, like what are you gonna learn, what does the program look like. It's all very important to like do research on that before you're actually going to sign up for a bachelor's. I think I know it sounds like pretty self-explanatory, but I know sometimes there are people who just pick a bachelor's without really knowing what it is. But yeah, I definitely did some research beforehand. Like obviously with Korea Studies there are lots of people who are into K-pop who do this studies, so I even asked within the K-pop community if there are people who are doing Korea Studies right now, and I asked them about their experiences. And also, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I know this one girl who was who did Korea Studies as well, so I also asked her things. So I basically like did my research by also asking former students or like alumni, like people who graduated from Korea Studies, like how was it like, what was the workload, just the vibe and anything. And I also, what I would recommend doing anyone if you're thinking about doing a specific bachelor, is like doing like this, I don't know how you say it in English, but like it's like this, you go there for a day and just like walk with one of the students there and just like experience what it's like, sort of experience a day in the life of a student who is currently enrolled in that bachelor's. So I did that as well. I think I also have a vlog about it, but I didn't vlog the day itself, but like I remember talking about it, if that makes sense. I did go to one of those days, like maybe like a sort of trial, I guess. So just, I really don't know how you say it in English, but like you guys probably know what I mean. Yeah, so I went there for a day, followed a lecture, and the students who were there were basically telling me all about the course and like what's going on there. Well, anyways, I guess someone just bumped into a car and the alarm went off, but oh well. Yeah, so I visited like those days and also just basically did a lot of research like online and stuff like that. So yeah, if you go to uni, do you have time for a part-time job on the side, or would you not recommend it? I definitely understand how some people are like struggling with that, because like I mentioned, university, the workload is pretty high. So I do understand that some people choose not to work on the side because uni takes a lot of your free time, and I can totally understand like people are scared they will have less time for their studies if they have a part-time job on the side. But to be honest, I actually would recommend it. Like for example, I currently do have a part-time job and I only work for like 1 day a week, which is like on the weekends, on a Saturday. So if you can just find a part-time job that's very flexible with like your studies, or if it's just like one full day, then I think it's doable. But if you are someone who definitely needs the money, then I would recommend getting a part-time job. How do you make time for your social life? This is actually quite a hard one because uni really takes a lot of time in my weeks. There are also sometimes moments that I do have to say no to certain plans of friends because I just really have like deadlines and like homework and stuff. But I really do try to see my friends as much as possible. Actually try to meet a friend at least once a month. If you give up your entire social life for your studies, then you're really going to be depressed. And you don't want that. So yeah, how I make time, it is quite hard. Like obviously I plan like everything when it comes to like homework and my studies, basically my whole life. And if I feel like I have a gap somewhere to meet someone, then I will. But for me personally, it's also very important to have time for myself, because obviously since I'm very caught up with my studies, and since I'm so busy all the time, I barely have like moments like catch my breath, you know. So I also want to have moments, like I actually try to create these moments daily where I have at least like 30 minutes to an hour to just really like relax and do my own thing. But sometimes I just also want to have a full day of doing nothing, and that's totally fine. So yeah, that's really how I like plan my social life, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do try to see my friends as much as possible as I can, but as a university student it can be very hard. Like you cannot definitely not see them to a daily or like even a weekly basis. So, and then the last question, which I thought was pretty interesting: do I really need to get a degree to do something I love? First of all, it really depends what you want to do, like what you really love that you want to do and pursue a career in. So I would say it really depends, but at the same time I also feel like there's always a way. And if it's not a degree, then it's maybe like something else. But at the same time, if you would ask me personally, I do think degrees are quite important in this society, because workplaces, most like 90% of the time, they actually do want someone who has a degree. But I also really understand that school is obviously not for everyone, and some people don't really see the importance of having a degree. And we all know that there are like some brilliant people out there who really got a successful career without a degree. So it is in a sense like quite possible. If someone would ask me should I go to university or not, or like college or anything like of that sort of level of education, I would definitely say yes. So because like I really feel like with a diploma or a degree you're always like safe. So that's sort of basically like my personal take on this. So yeah, that was it for this video. My throat is so dry and I just really don't want to talk at all. But yeah, that was it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and of course subscribe, and let me know if you would like to see more of this type of videos where I talk about like my uni life. If you want to see a part 2 as well, then I would love to make it, because I really feel like there's a lot more I can tell you guys. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time in a new video. Bye bye.